We're doing it.
We're ready.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Here in Hawaii, nay.
This is big.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out. My gosh.
I am honored. We did not expect the Fired Up podcast to make it to Hawaii, but we are here.
This is what we do. We make things happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tulsi is an old friend. People do not realize this. People also do not realize that we met in the most non-DC way possible.
Yes.
Because I feel like, I had worked in the Obama White House. You were a member of Congress.
Yeah.
People just assumed.
There's many other natural political
ways
we would have met.
Yeah, people become friends.
And we know a lot of the same people.
Before
we met because
a lot of coworkers.
That's right.
But for those of you who haven't heard this story, I've regaled this story to a lot of our friends in DC. But so Marina and I are at a wedding in DC, very fancy wedding. And I think it was a rehearsal dinner that
You're exactly right.
We sat next to you and Abraham. And I think that you guys were engaged at the time.
We were, actually.
I don't think you guys were married yet.
We had not. We were about to get married, I think, like a couple months later.
We had more fun at that rehearsal dinner.
So did we.
With you guys. Then I can't even remember how long. It was so much fun.
I texted our friend Emily afterward, like, thank you so much for sitting us at that table with those cool people. Yes. We had so much fun.
Well, the crazy thing about DC is you hear about people before you meet them.
Yeah.
And so Marina and I think you were on the cover of like the local magazine. Like you were the new hot congresswoman. I mean hot in the cool...
only the way that Washington can do.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That culture that's there.
That's right. So you were like the AOC. You were like the new firebrand young congresswoman from Hawaii. Yeah. And everyone was like, who is this Tulsi Gabbard? And then Maria and I sat next to you and Abe, and you were the most normal, sweet, amazing people. You had no entourage. You like hung out with us all night. And then we just remained friends. And now I get to interview you in Hawaii.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for listeners, I got off a plane.
Like a few hours ago.
I got to Tulsi's beautiful home, and then you said, go into the ocean immediately. And so it's
Brad, for the record, your protests were somewhat weak.
They're pretty weak. I was like, no, that's unprofessional.
It's like, nope, I'm grabbing Abraham's surf shorts. Exactly. Here's a towel.
I'm like,
use his slippers. Go.
So I walk down, I go in the water, but it's a perfect segue to what we're talking about. Yeah. Our fired up topic is surfing. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard is perhaps, I think you were the most famous surfer in the country at this point. For a person who's not into surfing.
Who's not a professional surfer.
All right. Yeah. There are obviously professional surfers that are famous. But for like an average person, you are a surfer. Yeah. This is something that is about you. And when I was in that water, by the way, the water was like 85 degrees.
So beautiful.
It was the ground. I grew up on the Jersey Shore, so I'm used to like rocks like in my jacket, in my foot. No rocks. Yeah. It was like beautiful white sand. And no wonder everyone surfs here. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, it's the beauty of the ocean, but I think as you felt once you got in the water, it's what we feel every time we come home here.
Yeah.
What we try to do when we get off the plane is even if all we have is 10 minutes, try to run to the ocean and just take a quick swim because of the effect that the ocean has on you and just being able to, cleansing and washing off all the airplane stuff and jet lag and just feeling refreshed and like centered and grounded.
Right. And so you're back, speaking of being off the plane, you're back. I caught you right before you're about to be deployed.
Yeah.
You're going to Indonesia?
Yes, I will be stepping away from the campaign for 2 weeks and wearing my other uniform, my Army uniform, and fulfilling my responsibility there. And what we'll be doing is a joint training exercise with the Indonesian military that's focused on basically counterterrorism and disaster response.
Incredible. So this is what the Fired Up podcast can do here, people. We can land this exclusive interview.
That's right.
with presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard.
You go where the action is.
Exactly.
This is what Fired Up is all about.
And here's what we're going to talk about. Of all things, surfing.
Yes.
Because that's what we're all about.
Truly.
So I did some research.
Okay.
In fact, we, our friend Elle did some great research for us. We learned that surfing is perhaps the oldest sport ever.
True.
Because these Hawaiian islands, these beautiful islands, were inhabited over 2,000 years ago. And people were surfing way, way, way back when. When did you first surf? Do you remember?
I first, so when I first learned how to swim, it was in the ocean. We took swimming classes in the ocean.
In the ocean. Well, it makes sense
that's
because I think you told me that before, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But now my kids are getting swimming lessons at the DC pool.
Yeah.
I mean, to get swimming lessons in that water I was in would be incredible,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're here.
Yeah.
So those are my first memories, and family and friends pushing us into waves on little boogie boards.
Yeah.
And so that's where I first fell in love with, or learned how to ride waves, was on a bodyboard.
How old
I
were you?
was maybe like 12.
Okay. Cool.
Or 13. And I really got into it. Like, I was getting the magazines, watching the videos.
And you're one of 5, correct?
I'm one of 5 kids, yeah, 4th of 5. So I've got 3 older brothers and a younger sister. My brothers, my closest brother in age is 5 years older.
Okay.
And then my younger sister is about 2.5 years younger. So the boys were kind of off doing their thing, and none of them really got into surfing. So...
Oh, you were the only.
I was the most avid ocean person in our house.
I would have just assumed it'd be the older brothers teaching the younger sister.
No. They were doing other things, video games and other stuff, but the ocean was where I found my playground, my solace, my refuge, just all of it. And so bodyboarded for a long time, and then some of my friends, I saw them, they do it's called drop knee on the bodyboard. So you pop up on one knee, and then you're kind of surfing the wave on one knee. And they were starting to do that. I was like, man, I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm just going to try to learn how to surf on a surfboard.
And what age is this?
Probably, like 16 or so.
16, wow.
Yeah, and a friend of mine gave me an old board. Surfers will recognize it's called a gun. That is generally used for big wave surfing. Okay. I didn't know it at the time. Right. Not the best board to learn how to surf on. I was just going to say, this sounds like a badass board. The board is badass. I was not badass trying to learn how to surf on this board. And one of the first places that they took me to learn how to surf was there's a couple of breaks near Sand Island, which is a very industrial part of town. Oh, cool. Not a destination for tourists by any means. Right. But the benefit for me was I got to crash and burn so many times without people watching me. Right. Because it wasn't very crowded out there. And I did until I finally, started to get the hang of it. And then eventually got a better board that was better equipped for the kinds of waves that I was surfing. Right.
Well, this was one of the questions I was going to have, because I was trying to... So I've never surfed, obviously. I grew up in New Jersey.
We're going to fix that one of these days. We're going to fix it
at some point.
We are.
That'll be a second episode.
There you go.
But there's a certain level of, I don't even know what the right term is, a certain level of presentation. Like, you're surfing in front of all these other people. Yeah. It's almost like a pickup basketball game, right? Like, if you're playing on a court and you just jump on the court and you can't
people
play.
People from all over the place.
People are going to make fun of you. And they're like, get off the court. You're ruining the court. Yeah. Is that sort of the similar case? Like, say it's, I don't know, like maybe it's like a beautiful day, got like great waves, and then you've got some tourist that doesn't know what the hell that they're doing.
There are unspoken rules and courtesies in surfing. Right. And if you're coming, like if you are a visitor to a new break, if people are coming here to Hawaii, or if I were to go to another place, you got to pay respect to the locals. Right. And
you just can't come in hot.
No. And just, what I often do if I'm surfing at a new break here or somewhere else, just kind of sit on the shoulder and just watch. Right. And pay attention to who's who, what's the dynamic, what's going on, see what the wave is like. And then, kind of position yourself, and when it's your wave, it's your wave. And if you've shown that respect to the people there, then they'll show that respect to you when it's your turn, or if you're in the right place to catch the wave.
This sort of sounds like aloha. What you the way that you talk about the community and respect is this idea of aloha.
Yeah.
Which is a huge part of your campaign, and obviously
my life.
Your life.
Yeah.
What is, for people who have no idea, like people who just know it as the Emma Stone movie?
Oh my gosh! Please,
God bless Emma Stone. But what does aloha mean?
God, it's so much more than what has become a very commercialized version of the word. People associate aloha with Hawaii, which is very appropriate because it is central to our culture.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than the big billboard you see when you come in at the airport. What it really is, it means love, and respect and kindness, and this ultimately this recognition that we are all connected, that we're all God's children. We're all brothers and sisters, regardless of race, religion, orientation, where we come from, all of these different things that so often are used to divide us. Aloha is what connects us. And when you recognize that we're all family, then of course you're going to show that respect. And even when you have disagreements, whether they be in politics or in life or in family or other things,
or
Aloha
surfing.
provides, or surfing. Aloha provides that inspiration to be kind.
Yeah.
To take care of each other. And that's what it is with surfing. If you're surfing with Aloha, it's not about yourself. I think that's really what's at the heart of it. And the way I try to live my life and the way Aloha inspires me is it's about service above self. And when you're out in the water, if you're surfing with Aloha and living Aloha in that way, it means, hey, if maybe it is your turn to get a wave and there's a really nice wave coming, but there's somebody else there who's been like paddling and paddling and paddling and hasn't been able to get a wave for like a half an hour. And it's like, hey, brah, go, have fun. You go on the wave. Or if you're catching a wave and your friend is there and on the shoulder trying to catch it, let them drop in on you, which is the cardinal rule. Don't drop in on people in surfing unless you have permission to do so. But it's just having that giving spirit and understanding how much joy, really like happiness, comes from when you do things for other people rather than just thinking about yourself and like, how can I get more? How can I do this all for myself? But just recognizing in the context of surfing in the ocean, like this is our, how fortunate are we to be able to come in this place and to benefit from,
it literally
nature.
Is paradise.
Exactly.
It is the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Yeah.
And you get to be here all the time when you're not in Iowa.
When I'm not here.
When you're not here. So that's that feeling of service and that feeling of giving, you started at a very early age. Talk about, because it sounded like from what I read, you were essentially an environmental activist when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Is that, I feel like it's connected to surfing in a way.
Very connected. Very connected. Part of this culture that we grew up with here, part of this culture of aloha is aloha aina. Aina, which maybe in a literal sense means land, but it's like aloha has a deeper meaning where aina recognizes the connection that we have with our environment. That if we are coming in as, just total consumers rather than custodians of the land, then we end up doing harm, and harm not only to ourselves, but really, as we're seeing now, as so much of our natural resources are exploited, it's having an impact on the kind of future we'll leave behind for our kids. And so Aloha Aina recognizes that connection we have with the land, and therefore the responsibility that we have to take care of it. And that's, for me as a teenager, is what inspired me to first figure out ways that I could do more.
You just started picking up trash.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's how it started.
Which is incredible.
It seemed like the natural thing to do.
It seems simple enough,
yeah.
But I mean, even I don't know. It's not. I mean, I wish you were in Jersey Shore because we could have used your help. I look at the Hawaiian beach. I'm like, where is there trash? But obviously, we're in a very beautiful park.
But I think that's what you see even here. People are walking down the beach in the mornings, and if they see a bag of chips or an empty soda can, they'll just pick it up and put it in their pocket and save it until they get to the trash because of that respect that we have for each other and for the land. And that's what inspired me to start a nonprofit. I co-founded a nonprofit when I was probably, 16 or 17 or so, focused on environmental protection and water protection, actually. And seeing that while picking up trash at the beach is great and it's important, it's not enough because we keep going back and there's more trash.
Right.
And I wrote a skit, a fun little play that we took to elementary school kids across the state.
Awesome.
And
is there
it was
video
called The
footage
Adventures of Water Woman.
There
may be hidden somewhere.
Some bonus footage.
But I wrote this skit called A Day in the Life of Oily Al. And it was Water Woman and her nemesis, Oily Al.
What? This is like predates Marvel.
That's right.
You're, way ahead of your time.
That's right.
Predates Aquaman.
Right,
DC.
At least in the movies. Absolutely.
Yeah, the movies anyway.
So I was the original Water Woman.
I
had the blue cape, the sparkling, glittering water drop on my back.
Oh my God, we need animation. There's a lot of Tulsi fans out there that can animate this.
Right, I believe it. But it was so cool as we did this because the skit was all about Oily Al's going about his day. He's, changing the oil in his car and he's about to dump the dirty oil into the storm drain. Water Woman comes in and stops him just in the nick of time and says, Oily Al, here's what happens if you pour your oil down the storm drain. He's dumping a bunch of pesticides on his garden. She stops him just in the nick of time and saying, look, this is what happens. And the most amazing thing from all of this was just being there and seeing the expression on these kids' face, like second, third, fourth graders who are sitting there bright-eyed watching and connecting with these everyday things that they could relate to that maybe their family or their uncles and aunties were doing. And then saying, oh gosh, I don't like that. I'm going to go home and tell mom and dad, hey,
Oily Al, Oily Dad.
Don't be the Oily Al. So that was that whole experience. I think really opened up my own eyes to see the power of being able to just make a positive impact and to find that way to be of service to others. Because I was more happy doing that than doing anything, just going hanging out with my friends or anything else.
A couple more surfing questions.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about a pickup basketball game, I feel like I've seen a lot of surfing movies where there's actual surfing gangs. Is that a real thing or is that just bad movies? Where it's people almost have a almost plot.
It's very territorial.
Territorial.
Yeah. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing?
Yeah.
What were you in one of these gangs? No, okay.
No, I wasn't.
What is your you're going to surf, you're with your friends or how does it work?
Yeah.
I'm just a dumb Jersey kid, so I'm just picturing.
There's the regular crowd at every single surf spot, and that is their spot.
Right.
And most of them have been surfing there maybe for 10 or 20 or 30 years.
Right.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Rain or shine, waves, no waves, they're out there. And so
mostly men?
Not always. Not always.
I'm just curious about the demo breakdown.
Yeah, it's pretty diverse, but you've got kind of the old timers who, like I said, they've been there. They know the spot like the back of their hand. They could surf it in the middle of the night and know exactly where they were.
Right.
I've never really had any trouble, but my husband and I went out at a different spot than where we normally go a little while ago, and there was a little bit of tension there. A little bit of tension.
Do they know that you're Water Woman? They should know this. Presidential candidate. Biggest wave you ever caught? Or maybe that could also be a dumb question because maybe you don't think of it in terms of biggest, but maybe greatest or most memorable.
Yeah. Probably the biggest wave I've ever caught is, I don't know, a few feet overhead.
Oh, wow.
It's hard to measure because here in Hawaii, they measure the waves on the back, not the front. So the back, it's if it's 3 feet in the back, it's a lot bigger in the front when you're actually surfing it.
Right.
So I don't know the numbers wise, but probably a few feet overhead. But I surf goofy foot, which means my right foot is forward.
Okay.
Other people surf regular, so like Kelly Slater surfs regular, meaning his left foot is forward. And
you're
most of the surf
you're
spots,
such a maverick, Tulsi.
No, I'm not actually.
This is the way you run your campaign.
Right, exactly. Rogue, go rogue. But I didn't discover, but one of our friends took me to a new surf spot in the North Shore that has a beautiful left break that is perfect for people like me who surf goofy foot.
Oh, interesting.
And it's a faster wave than I've ever ridden. And most of the spots that we go to in town that are closer are rights, which are better for regular surfers. But anyway,
got it.
That's like, if I have my choice and the waves are good, that's where I am.
Got it. You're describing the physics to me, and I don't quite understand.
Yes, I can tell you're.
But it's all good. Like my eyes are glazing over a little bit. Women in surfing. So I was reading a little bit about the history of surfing. So Gidget, are you familiar with Gidget? Yeah,
of course.
This was apparently the first big surfing pop culture icon in the 50s and 60s. Your brothers didn't surf.
Yeah.
You surf. Did your sister surf?
She got into it.
Okay.
She got into it a little bit later. We ran in different friend circles, so she got into it. I think around when she was in high school.
Okay.
But I ended up surfing with a bunch of my brother's friends who surfed.
Got it.
And that was my crew out there, and we'd go after work, or during the summers or whatever. But there's a woman here in Hawaii who I think has been a great inspiration for women surfers here and around the world. Her name was Rel Sun, and she was Native Hawaiian, and she, at a time when surfing was very, very male dominated, was an icon who really broke through so many barriers in catching very big waves and surfing with such grace and style. And so she was somebody that I looked up to when I was younger.
That's incredible. Biggest wipeout?
I'll tell you the most memorable wipeout. Most memorable wipeout was actually after I saw the movie Wipeout.
Get out of here.
And
just implanted it in your head.
I don't know,
in
man.
Your subconscious.
But I saw that movie, and then I don't know if it was the next day or a couple of days later, I was surfing, and I wiped out on a wave, and then the back of my shorts got caught it was really shallow and got caught on the reef.
Oh no.
And so for a second, when you get held on, you're like, okay, just relax. I'll make my way to the top. But I never ended up getting up there because I realized my shorts were caught on the reef underneath. So just for that split second, I thought of the movie. I was like, oh shit.
Freaking out,
yeah. Shorts came off. Everything was fine.
Oh, there you
go. It all worked out. But
what happens if it's like a wetsuit though? That gets a little bit.
We don't wear wetsuits here much.
You don't wear wetsuits. Yeah, because it's like 80 degrees.
Yeah.
Can you surf? This is a question. Do you surf anywhere else but in Hawaii? Because if I were you, that would be like, I don't know that you would want to surf in the Jersey Shore.
I would.
I feel like I'm disparaging Jersey in a huge way.
You gotta own your hometown,
I gotta own my Jersey Shore.
Own your hometown.
Shout out to Rich Torelli, who I grew up with. He was the cool Rich Torelli, Ryan Grow, who I grew up with. They were the surfer kids in my high school, and they listened to
Jersey
Sublime.
Shore. I've realized recently gets some really nice waves.
Okay.
And speaking of Kelly Slater, they were having a great day, and he was in the area.
Yeah.
The water did not look like the water here, but the barrels were incredible.
Oh, get out of here.
Incredible.
In Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right. So maybe you should come to Jersey.
I know. Everywhere we go, whether it's in the United States or traveling to other places, we always try to look and see okay, if the ocean is there, are there waves? Are there boards we can borrow?
Right.
Can we get out? And sometimes it works out.
Right. Do you bring your board with you, or
no?
Okay,
no.
That'd be a little much.
If we were going on a surf trip, which we talk about a lot, we've never been able to do yet. But
you're a little busy these days.
Yeah, I know.
So back to activism. So you start this nonprofit, and you're 16 years old.
Yeah.
You created this incredible curriculum for kids, and then you run for office at 21, and then you won. youngest ever in Hawaii State. Mm-hmm. Was it the environmental activism
it was
that led to it?
It was we were working with kids.
Yeah.
That turned into other issues that came up. There was a developer who was trying to build a landfill over one of our largest water aquifers here that provides the drinking water for most people on the island. That was very concerning. So it was, getting petitions and working to try to get the legislature to do the right thing, which was an uphill battle.
Right.
Ultimately, the voice of the people won, and that landfill was not developed over the water aquifer.
Oh, wow.
But that is
literally the exact replica of Water Woman.
Right.
Do you realize this?
Right. A little bit of we found a different Oily Al to take on.
Oily Al was
That's right.
the corporation.
That's right.
It's amazing.
But that opened my eyes to kind of the political aspect of things, and what happens when you have politicians who are paid off by big donors who are like, yo, I want to get this project. Can you help me, grease the wheels and push it through?
Greasy Al.
Right, exactly. We'll keep coming back to that. There's so many metaphors. Oily Al taking on big fossil fuel corporations. That's what we're doing in Congress now. But yeah, that's what drove me to run for office. I was 21. I had no idea what campaigning would entail for me as a candidate.
Were you just hitting up all the surfers? How do you run? You're 21. That's
most
hard.
surfers are broke.
That's a good point.
That was not fertile fundraising ground. But I got on the computer and I kind of put together an 8.5 by 11 black and white brochure.
Wow.
And I called a friend of mine. He said, "Yeah, you can buy a file of who's registered to vote in your neighborhood." Yeah. And it was literally just me going out knocking on doors by myself. Wow. Is how we started. And then a couple of really amazing friends who would get out early in the morning and wave signs with me on the side of the road. Yeah. But I was a really, really shy and introverted kid growing up. And so just the action of building up the courage to go and knock on strangers' doors was really hard for me.
It's still hard for me.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we knock on doors every GOTV season. She hates it. She hates it. She'll knock and she'll stand behind me. Right. It's very intimidating. It is. People do not want to talk to you.
It is. And it's someone's home.
Yeah.
And people are chilling out, whatever. That was my whole thing is I don't want to bother people.
Right.
What are they going to think about me? Yeah. What if they ask a hard question? I don't know if I'm going to be able to respond.
But you want.
Ultimately, I just came to realize that all of my fears and anxieties were really selfish and inward looking rather than focused on what I was doing, which was offering to serve the people in my community. Yeah. And I'm so grateful that they gave me that opportunity.
What was that campaign like? Because you had to have been a long shot.
By far.
When a 21-year-old runs for office.
Yeah.
That pisses people off.
Yeah. No, I didn't have a college degree.
Right.
It was an open primary. There were 5 Democrats running in the primary.
Got it.
There was an Army nurse, there was an engineer, there was someone who'd worked in government for a long time. So it was, and everyone running for the first time.
Right.
We worked really hard.
Yeah.
We worked really hard, and ultimately it came down to earning the trust of the people in that district, in our community, that I would be their voice and fight for them.
It's incredible.
Really,
so
It just at every step it was my campaign for the state house. Later on, after both of my deployments, I came back and ran for the city council.
Yeah.
And then again in my race for Congress, and all of these campaigns, I was dismissed as
long shot.
Yeah, to put it nicely.
Yeah. And
in every one of these campaigns, what it came down to was just setting aside all of the noise coming from the political, quote unquote establishment or the experts and the people who have been in this business for a long time, and instead just focusing on people and seeing how the people win in every one of those examples.
Yeah.
When we make that choice, say, no, look, we're going to make the choice, but what kind of leadership we want, we can overcome even the longest of odds.
Well, it's got to be inspiring. I'm just imagining now I'm older, but inspiring 21-year-old knocking on my door and saying I'm running for office. That alone inspires new voters and people saying, wait, who are you? Why are you running for office? And I feel like you've done that time and time again, to your point. You skipped ahead though, because you get elected. This was in 2001, correct? You got elected
2002. I was elected. Yep.
And then the Iraq War launches, I think, next year, 2003.
That's right.
And then you volunteer Did you do this while you were in office when you volunteered for the Army National Guard?
I did. 9/11, like for so many people in the country, was a huge turning point.
Yeah.
For me, I knew that I wanted to find some way to be able to serve my country and to go after the terrorists who had attacked us on that day. And I wasn't exactly sure how I would do that, but ultimately I enlisted in the Army National Guard and actually enlisted and took that oath of enlistment on the floor of the House of Representatives in Hawaii. Shipped out to basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, right after our session was complete. Managed to keep it a secret from the drill sergeants that I was an elected official for several weeks. I think the number one rule for anybody in the military, when you go to boot camp, you don't want to be noticed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You don't want any attention. You don't want to stand out from the crowd for better or worse. I was successful in doing that for a while.
Right.
And then one day the sergeant major, who's like, one of the top dogs there, came up to me, and the girl who was my battle buddy, as they called it. You don't ever go anywhere alone. And he was, getting to know the troops, and he asked her, and he's like, okay, where are you from? And what do you do at home? She's like, I'm from this state, and, I work at McDonald's part-time. He's like, oh, okay, what's good? I'm glad to see you. And you, what about you? And, well, I'm from Hawaii. I'm a state representative there. He's like, what? Who's your drill sergeant? Got them, and they came. He's like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, I wrote it on the paper. That's all I got to say. But
it's incredible.
Anyway, it was
just made
history,
funny. Youngest.
No, it was funny.
That decision, though, had to have been big, right? I mean,
It changed my life.
It had to have been. Was your family supportive? Because that's a big deal. Yeah. I mean, your family's probably scratching their heads. One, you're surfing. No one else is surfing. Two, you're starting nonprofits.
Yeah.
Then you're running for office and winning when you're 21. And then you're like, no, I've got more to do. I'm now going to serve my country. Was there like something in the water? Like what was happening in the Gabbard family?
Experiencing from a young age that I wanted to follow a path of service with my life is something that, my parents, my family knew and supported and encouraged. They weren't concerned about, you've got to get this degree, you've got to get this job, you have to make this amount of money. They understood what I experienced, which is, success and happiness lies in when you're being of service to God and service to others.
Right.
And so I don't think they were very surprised when I told them that this is what I wanted to do.
Wow.
My parents were concerned.
Yeah.
I think maybe they thought that I wouldn't be called up to serve so quickly overseas.
How quickly was it?
Our brigade was activated for deployment less than a year after I joined.
Wow.
And it was the first deployment for our National Guard brigade combat team since Vietnam.
Wow.
So even looking at, some of the senior ranking soldiers in our brigade, many of them had not seen combat before. And so when that happened, I was actually campaigning for re-election at the time.
Oh, wow.
And the notice came out. It's going to be an 18-month-long deployment, just over a year actually in Iraq, and close to 3,000 soldiers going.
Wow.
I remember sitting in my living room, looking through that notice and seeing that my name was not on the list, calling my commander and saying, hey, what's going on? I don't see my name there. It must be a mistake. And he said, no, congratulations. You get to stay home. You get to, continue your life, go back and win your re-election campaign, and, we'll see you when we get back. And I knew that there was no way I could let them go without me.
Wow.
And so I withdrew from my re-election campaign, convinced my commander that I wouldn't take no for an answer. And there was a job in that field medical unit that they needed filled. So I went and got trained up for that job and embarked on the experience that completely changed the course of my life.
Yeah. So then 2 deployments later, you come back, you run for office again, city council, and then a seat opens up
for Congress.
And how old are you now?
I would have been about 29 or 30, I think.
It's crazy.
But
Tulsi Gabbard. It's incredible. It's just you're just making all of us feel really bad about ourselves.
Stop it. Not even. It
incredible.
was those experiences, serving in that medical unit on the first deployment, seeing and experiencing firsthand every single day the high human cost of war. And coming back from both of those deployments, I was really searching for a way that I could be in a position to help make the decisions that would stop leaders in Washington from starting these costly, counterproductive regime change wars that took the lives of some of my friends who I served with. And, now we see Iraq that war took the lives of over 4,000 of our men and women in uniform. And so I didn't know exactly how or where I'd be able to be in that position of influence. I came back, I was like, maybe I can go work for the UN. And like, that didn't work out. I applied for a White House fellowship.
No way.
Made it a few steps in the process, got rejected. And so when that seat opened up here in Congress because of a U.S. senator who I'd actually worked for in between two of those deployments retired, I was once again the long shot that everybody wrote off, but I knew that I had to do my best to try, because the voices of those who I served with and the people who are still paying the price for these ongoing, wasteful, unnecessary wars was not being heard. A lot of people were saying, thank you for your service, we love our troops, yet these are the very same people who are continuing to send them to other parts of the world where we have no business in fight in wars that are actually counter to our interests in this country, that make us less safe, which is not why we sign up to serve. We sign up to serve, to protect and defend and serve the American people, to serve our country. And that's why I get so fired up about the kind of change we need to see in our foreign policy. And it's why I'm running for president, to be that agent of change, to get us on track, to stop wasting the countless lives that have been sacrificed, but also the trillions of dollars that have been spent on these wars that are coming out of our communities, coming out of our schools, coming out of our healthcare system.
It's so crazy because it's the type of thing that everyone agrees on. Like Republicans and Democrats agree on the obscene amount of money that we spend on these wars, but no one ever talks about it. And I think, again, you are my friend and I love you, but you in this race, talking about this issue from, as you put it, like, you're fired up about this because you lived it. You were a soldier on the ground, right? This isn't abstract. This isn't just academic or like a think tank. Like, you saw the real costs of it. And so anyway, whenever you're out there firing people up about it, like, we need more, not just Tulsi Gabbard.
We do.
And that's why it's so important that you're running. How's it been running? Because I feel
the thing
does
that's
it
been
feel
really
like
incredible.
you're 21 again running?
No, it doesn't. No, things are very different. But the thing is that as we're talking about this issue of the cost of war, for both people who have served, but every single American, at our town hall meetings, at our campaign rallies, at living room gatherings, conversations around the kitchen table, we have people who are coming together and uniting as Americans, people who care very much for each other and our future, from across party lines. Who, Republicans or independents who may disagree with me on some issues or even many issues, but are coming and saying, I am supporting you because of this single issue. And that is how that is what's necessary to bring about this kind of change. That's what's necessary to beat Donald Trump in 2020.
I completely agree.
And it's what's necessary for us to begin to do the work necessary after that, to come together, to heal these wounds, to get our priorities straight, get back on track, de-escalate tensions that we're seeing escalating with so many other countries, nuclear armed countries, change our foreign policy from one that has been the United States is the world's police, going around and bullying other countries, to one where we're actually being a leader and a force for good in the world.
Agreed.
Where we're engaging with people based on respect, providing that avenue and opportunity to work out our differences using diplomacy, but also say, okay, China, let's work together on climate change. This is something that is a threat to us all, and we've all got to come together to be able to solve it. You can't do that if you only have an adversarial relationship.
Well, the last question, Donald Trump has Mar-a-Lago and he goes there and it's like White House South. I feel like White House Pacific would be interesting.
Yes.
Create a little compound out here in Hawaii. But I also thought what could be cool, because, you know, President Obama turned the tennis court into a basketball court. And we got to play on that basketball court when I was at the White House. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So Big Cooper, could Kelly Slater build you a wave pool?
We've already had this conversation.
Oh, really?
We've already had this conversation.
Yes! We're breaking news here on the Fired Up podcast. When President Gabbard takes office, Kelly Slater will build, what do we call it? We call it the White House.
I don't know.
The White House wave pool.
Good. It's something better than a wave pool.
Yeah, White House.
I don't know.
The official White House. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll
this will
clearly be groundbreaking, and what a great opportunity to be able to be making the right kind of waves in Washington.
Oh,
Boom.
that is a perfect way to
Boom.
Tulsi Gabbard, thank you so much, man.
Brad.
This was so much fun. For those of you who don't already follow Tulsi, everyone already follows Tulsi, but go follow Tulsi Gabbard.
At Tulsi Gabbard.
Go donate a couple bucks to TulsiGabbard.com.
Yes, and we are still working to qualify for the third round of debates.
How can people help you do that?
By getting more people to join our campaign, sharing the message of who I am and why I'm running.
Yeah.
We have one of the 4 polls that we need to get into that next debate.
Huge.
So it's big, but we need the support to be able to get across that finish line. So when people donate to our campaign, they are helping give us the resources to get our message out there, so that when the phone rings and the pollsters are calling, then we'll be able to reach those folks who will hopefully then be able to support us.
And for all the surfers out there are a lot of surfers.
Yeah.
You are their champion. They should share this interview.
Yes.
Donate. We need to get like a Tulsi, like some kind of cool Tulsi like surfboard.
Yeah.
Right?
Good idea.
We gotta talk to Kelly Slater about this. Shout out to Kelly Slater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you again so much. This was so much fun,
good to talk
Tulsi.
to you. This is great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.